Good morning. In today's lecture we will talk about another class of reactions that halogens and alkanes undergo, and this class is a broad class of elimination reactions. The first one we will discover is the so-called E1 elimination, but before we get there we will first see what eliminations are in general. And as the name implies, these are the reactions that typically remove two adjacent groups on two adjacent carbons to yield a double bonded compound and some sort of an AB species. These reactions frequently accompany substitutions. For example, if you just try to run a simple hydroxide substitution on ethyl bromide, you will get ethanol, but you will also get some ethylene as well. And in these cases, this equilibrium can be shifted by the choice of reaction conditions. But there are some examples, such as this reaction of p-butyl bromide, where almost invariably we get the mixture of elimination and substitution reaction. So as we know, the first step in the substitution reaction of p-butyl bromide is the decomposition of bromide into bromide and p-butyl cation, which in the presence of weak nucleophile can undergo SN1 reaction to give us this ether, NH+. But it can also undergo E1 reaction using methanol now as a base, where we'll get an alkene, NH+. Let's see how does this happen mechanistically. If clearly this cation is the key intermediate, as it was in the SN1 reaction, and this cationically charged intermediate can get stabilized by either attaching to a nucleophile or by loss of proton. So if nucleophile accepts this proton, then this bond can move over here and give us a double bond in that compound. And this reaction is typically faster than the cation formation. And we'll see what sort of kinetical consequences this has. In this case, we get this double bonded species, which is known as alkene, and then we get the protonated methanol. So methanol in this case doesn't act as a nucleophile, it acts as a base because it removes as a proton. So this is a base, not a nucleophile. As I've said, the rate limiting step is still the formation of cations. The rate in this case equals K times the concentration of p-butyl bromide. And this is similar, well actually it's the same as in SN1 reaction. And therefore these reactions are known as E1 reactions, which simply means elimination unimolecular. Because the intermediates are identical, SN1 reaction and E1 reaction often occur simultaneously. And if we look at the energy diagram for the E1 reaction, we will see that it's remarkably similar to the one for the SN1 reaction, in that we start at some point and then we go over a high barrier to reach a cationic intermediate. So this could be our bromide, this could be our cation. And then the barrier to the next step is relatively low and gets us to our alkene. So this is a very remarkably similar profile to SN1 reaction as we encounter in the E1 reaction. In terms of our orbital picture, what we see is that this neighboring sp3 hybridized carbon is already stabilizing a cationic center through hyperconjugation. and the attack of base onto this hydrogen allows it to extend the stabilization to the bottom lobe, since it's already present on the top, and to basically symmetrize this portion of the molecule into a double bonded piece. Okay? Now, since E1 reaction proceeds through a cation, that means that it suffers from the same ailments that the SN1 reaction suffers from. The first one is the loss of stereochemistry, but that is not overly relevant since we lose the stereochemistry anyway, since we're getting an alkene. But the second and more significant one is that we see rearrangements in E1 reaction as well. The other consequence of the presence of this cationic intermediate, which is a little more subtle, is the fact that if we look at our T-butyl cation, T-butyl cation is a tertiary cation, so the base can in principle attack each one of these hydrogens with equal probability, presumably, and then each one of them could get eliminated and form an alkene. In this case, it doesn't matter. But it is an important point, and in the next topic, we will see the cases where it does matter which alkene gets formed, and we'll see what determines the product distribution in such cases.